Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night to you wherever you are in the world, depending on your time zone. If you are seeing me for the first time, I'm Avigay. I'm an HR practitioner and I do this business alongside my husband, Jardine. We are originally from Jamaica. However, we are residing in South Florida, and we are proud digital business owners. As you join this evening's live, please share with us in the comment where you are joining from. I have two beautiful ladies joining me this evening as well. And seeing that you already know who I am, I'll have them introduce themselves before we jump into the live. Blessing, you want to go first?
Okay, let's go. So, hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, according to your time zone. Welcome again to another Go Live series with I and my business partners. My name is Blessing. I am a teacher and an online digital business owner and mentor living and working in Japan. I am originally from Nigeria. So, nice to see you again today.
Joanne, go on.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night from wherever you're watching us. I'm Joanne, a registered nurse by profession, originally from Uganda, and I'm in Australia, and it's so cold in Australia. But here we are. I'm happy to join you. If you're here on my page for the first time, welcome, welcome. If you're seeing us for the first time, welcome, welcome. We are going to discuss something very good, and I think you should tune in.
Yes, yes, join in, join in. Tonight, we are exploring a topic that is impacting many families. As we think about work, income, opportunities, especially for immigrant families. For many of us, the immigrant journey has been built on sacrifice. We came with dreams, determination, and a willingness to do whatever it takes to create a better future. But along that journey, many families have found themselves caught in a cycle where earning more often requires giving up more of something we can never get back, and that's our time. We work longer hours, we make more sacrifices, and we push ourselves because we want better for our families. But sometimes, while we are building a future for our loved ones, we miss the very moments we are working hard for, the everyday experiences with our children, our spouses, and our families. But guess what? The world of work is changing. Yes. The digital economy has created new ways for people to learn, connect, build, and create opportunities beyond traditional boundaries. And so tonight we want to explore what this digital shift means for immigrant families, not just financially, but mentally and strategically, because our mission is not just about helping people create additional income. It's about helping fellow immigrants explore opportunities that can help them buy back their time, create stability, and build a legacy that can impact generations to come. So let's dive in. The first question of the evening highlights, it says the digital shift. Well, that's our topic. How immigrant families are rewiring work, income, and opportunities. The question is, when we talk about the digital shift, what do we believe is actually changing in the structure of work itself? Not just the tools, but the definition of work, income, and opportunity. And as I thought about that question, I thought it was pretty interesting. I believe the biggest shift happening right now is that we are redefining what work, income, and opportunity looks like. And I'm sure my panel will agree with that. For many immigrant families, our understanding of success was built around sacrifice. We were taught to work hard, put in the hours, and do whatever it takes to provide a better future. And that work ethic is one of our greatest strengths, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the question we have to ask ourselves today is, what happened when our time become the only thing we use to create income? Because this is something we can never get back. Time. There's this old adage that said time wasted or time passed can never be regained. Many
Mm-hmm.
families are working long hours, making sacrifice, but somewhere in the process, or sometimes in the process of building that better future, we miss so much. As I said earlier, we miss out on times with our children. We are working so hard. We have a nanny or a daycare taking care of these kids, and we miss some of those moments. It's funny because when I had my daughter, I remember there were days when she would not see me for days. I had a full-time job. I went to school in the evenings. So I had part-time
Wow.
school and a full-time job. And there were many days when I left for work in the morning, she was sleeping. And by the time I got home from work, she was sleeping. By the time I got home from school, there were days when I would go home and wake her up and shake her and kiss her. Oh, mommy's here. Because I'm like, she needs to see me. And I know I'm not the only person who would have, experienced something of that nature, because we had to give up the time because we are trying to earn as much to take care. And the truth is, what I was doing seemed logical because I was working, I was going to school, in an effort to elevate myself so I could create a better life for my child. But at that time, looking back now, there are so many milestones, so many precious moments that I missed because I wasn't physically there. Not because I didn't want to, but because I couldn't. And am I the only person who would have experienced that? I'm sure. I'm not. There are several other persons. So to me, this digital shift is not just about the technology. It's about changing our mindset around what is possible. It's about learning how to leverage the new platform, new skills, new opportunities, and create more flexibilities and additional income stream that gives us greater control over our time. And that is really why this conversation matters, because the goal is not just to earn more. It's to build a life where we can experience stability, as I said earlier, create a legacy, and still be present for the people we truly love and care
True.
for. And this now, takes me to my next question. The truth is, when we talk about creating opportunities in a new environment, it leads us to another important conversation: the way technology is changing what is possible beyond the physical borders. For generations, immigrants have crossed borders in search of better opportunities, and that's what we do, right? A lot of times we leave our home country because we are in search of a better opportunity, of a better life. We left behind familiar places and systems and sometimes the loved ones. For me, I live here in the US. I have siblings back home in Jamaica. My mom is back home in Jamaica. And the truth is, a lot of times it is so heartbreaking too. And when we then come and is not able to really structure and manage ourselves, as I said, it starts with the mind, changing our mindset. We find that years go by and the plans that we came here with, the desire to help our families back home, to pull some out of the struggles they're in, we end up really not achieving it because we did not find the foundation that is important. But today, technology has changed the way we connect, build, and create opportunities. So, my next question is to you, Blessing, and
Mm.
it's: how has the ability to operate across digital platforms reshape the way immigrant families think about borders, both financially and psychologically when it comes to earning and opportunity?
Oh, thank you so much, Ava, for that question. Because for me, the biggest shift is that borders no longer have the same control over opportunities. Because I remember years ago where where we live largely determined how much we could earn. Like, let's say, example, if you live in the rural area, your opportunities were often limited, right? Many
Right.
people believe that, oh, moving to a big city or moving abroad was the only path to a better income. That
Mm-hmm.
is why millions of people left home. They left their home countries. They wanted better opportunities, better education for their children. And they also wanted a more stable future. But many
Mm-hmm.
immigrants recently just discovered another reality that living abroad also comes with higher expenses because you
That's
have to pay
right.
rent. You have to pay rent, you have to pay electricity, you have to pay gas bill, you have to pay your health insurance, your pension contribution, transportation, child care, taxes, and daily living costs. And all of this
Mm-hmm.
can consume a large part of your income. But at the
Yes.
same time, many of us are still supporting, parents back home, just like Ava said, siblings
Mm-hmm.
and our relatives. So even though you may earn more, you know, you may not always keep more. So the digital
Right.
economy is changing that mindset today because someone living in Japan can build relationships, build their business, here in Japan, while people in the world are, buying into the business. You can also build relationship with people in Australia like Joanne, in US like Ava, Canada,
Mm-hmm.
Nigeria, and the UK. And this is without you leaving home. So
Mm-hmm.
now the opportunity is becoming less about geography and more about connectivity, skills, and consistency. So for
Right.
me, psychologically, I can say that this changes everything. So instead
Mm-hmm.
of us thinking, oh, I am limited because I live here, people begin asking, how can I use technology to create opportunities wherever I am? Remember that your passport may determine where you live, but your skill can determine where your income comes from. And that is where I now go about this business as well. Look at me here now. I'm in Japan building my business. And whenever I run my ads, remember my ads, people all over the world will see my ads. So people who want to buy into the same business would, reach out to me. So that is just a good thing about it because now many people work from home. Even the pandemic even made a lot of companies go online you know.
Mm-hmm.
So most people now work online. So it's not about, oh, you have to travel to this city, you have to travel to this place for you to, get a better job. So now even online, like I've seen, like I think the other time I was checking online and I saw a lady who was advertising about people who were interested in remote jobs, right? These are jobs
Mm-hmm.
from the UK, jobs from the US, which people
Right.
can do. So if you're living in any part of the world, you can also get those jobs and do them online. And I'm like, wow, the world is really changing. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You are so right, Blessing. I think I guess COVID has its pros and cons.
Mm.
And I believe that even post COVID, what that in itself has opened a lot of technological related jobs because remote jobs is just as rampant or just as available, as the physical jobs that we go in, the regular going physical jobs, and that's a good thing. That definitely open a whole different new world of opportunities to us. And there's something that you made mention of, the fact that back home in our home country, some of us, we migrate and we now have rent or mortgages for some. But there are some of us, like myself, when I left Jamaica, I didn't have any rent or mortgage. So coming here, I found that no, oh Lord, this is an additional expense that I never previously had to deal with. And and I'm sure there are a lot of people who can say the very same. Yes, there are some who, back home, you had your own little place, you made it, whatever. Because I know where we're coming from, it may be different. We don't have rent as a responsibility. No, we have in the US. If you don't have 2,500, you can't share a room. And I'm not even talking about your whole space for yourself. So those are some of the things we have to contend with, when we migrate. I think, one of the greatest shifts is realizing that opportunity is no longer tied to the physical location. And you highlighted it. And I really want to just reiterate that the digital world has allowed people to learn, to connect and create from wherever,
Mm.
wherever. And that's the beauty of it. But the opportunity only becomes meaningful when we are willing to see ourselves as participants in this new economy and not just observers, right? And
Yeah,
that brings me to my next question, because having access to the opportunity is only one part of the equation. Wouldn't you guys agree?
that's
Yes.
true.
The next question now is about our ability to adapt. So, Joanne, I'd like for you to share in this rewiring of work and income, what matters more today for immigrant families? Is it access to opportunity or the ability to adapt to it, and why?
Thank you very much, Agave. Uh, uh, you know what? It's very interesting because looking at this panel, Blessing is Nigerian and is in Japan. You are from Jamaica and in the US. I'm from Uganda and I'm in Australia. We are already away from our homes, which gives us the biggest opportunity to access many opportunities. So I'm sure most of us came from home thinking, I'm a registered nurse. So I came from home thinking, I'm going to go to Australia and work in the hospital. And that's it. So I
Mm-hmm.
had access to this opportunity. But do you know what? Once I got here, I quickly understood that it wasn't only about access to the opportunity. I needed to change my mindset. I needed
Mm-hmm.
to adapt to even something better, you know? And for me, I think the ability to adapt even matters more than the access to opportunity. Because I could have so many open doors to me. But if I'm not willing to change my mindset, if I'm not willing to think like what the opportunity is presenting to me, then the opportunity is as good as useless. And that's something that many of us immigrants have quickly realized, that it's not just having this nursing job and going to the nursing job every single day. I used to do that in my own journey. I came to Australia. I looked at the situation. Okay, I thought I'm gonna work night shift because it suits me, it suits the family, it's perfect for me. And I did. I really did. For 10 years plus, I did these night shifts. But you know what? The exhaustion, the long night shifts, the coming home and sleeping during the day, that was my life. And that is
Mm-hmm.
all I had. And I quickly realized that after 10 years of service, I didn't have time for anything else. Even when I had my day off, I need to catch up with sleep. I need to
Mm-hmm.
reset my body. So you have, after night shift, you have that one day when you're busy resetting your body to adapt. But you do that, you have, say, 2 days off.
Mm-hmm.
And one day you're resetting, and then the next day you're ready to go back again. It's not life, you know? And for me, that is when I realized that I needed to change the way I think about income, the way I think about the opportunities I see. It's not just pick up the next extra shift, do the next extra thing. No, I need to do things that help me spend more time with my family. And so when I came across this digital opportunity, yes, I had a little bit of background in business, but not in technology. God knows I still struggle with the technology part of it. But what, what changed my life mostly, it was my willingness to change, my willingness to see the opportunity, my willingness to know that, okay, it's not just about the traditional go to the next shift, pick up the next extra shift, work overtime. No, it's my willingness to know that I can actually sit at home and do something else with my time. And, even though it's outside my comfort zone, look at it and work with it. And I believe that one of the greatest strengths that many of us immigrants have is the fact that we've already moved, you know, we've already taken that leap of faith and come from the nice food, come from the nice, climate. Look at me, I'm freezing. Where I come from, there's no cold like this. So we've already done the hard part. So
Yes.
adapting to a new opportunity is easier because you've already done so much to come and be, you know, come and be into these countries. Because by the time you apply for the visa and get a status in the country where you are, get everything, it's a lot. It's not easy. So we've already done the hard part. So it's a bit of a shame that many of us freak out when we see these digital opportunities and get scared. But the truth is, we've already overcome so much more. So opening your mind up to learn a new way to make income, that's a small step. But yeah, we have to look at the advantage of, being here, and what we've already done. But in my view, I think that the opportunity opens up the door, but the willingness to change your mindset, the willingness to adapt is what gives you the advantage of whether you're going to go from point A to point B and whether you're going to take advantage of that opportunity. So yeah, I think that as immigrants, we've already adapted to a lot, but the willingness to keep learning new things is what will help us manage in this digital shift.
Awesome. Awesome. I like your take, Joan, but I want to throw not different, but my perspective. I believe both matters.
Yeah.
But I also feel that the adaptation is what allows us to maximize the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because opportunities can exist all around us. But if we are not willing to learn, grow, and change our approach, we may never recognize the benefits from them. The ability to adapt, and you said it, but I said I think it can be both. The
Yeah.
ability to adapt is what help us as immigrants to survive. And it is also what help us to thrive. Because the truth is, most of us move into these countries and it has not been entirely easy. It has not been, it's been easier for some than others, but most of us, we've had our own, journey of struggle. And that brings us, to our final question, because every major shift requires us to evaluate what we need to change to move forward. If we want to create a different future for ourselves and our children, we have to be willing to challenge some of the beliefs and the habits that shape the past. Wouldn't you guys agree?
Of
What
course, yes.
worked for one generation may not prepare the next generation, and that's just the plain truth. So it takes me to my next question to you, Blessing, again. I'd love for you to share if this digital shift continues at its current pace, what do you think immigrant families must begin to unlearn and relearn in order to stay relevant and not left behind?
Thank you so much, Joanne. The first thing we need to unlearn, that is the immigrant families who are abroad, the first thing we need to unlearn is the belief that job security automatically means financial security.
Oh,
Because many immigrants, including myself, we work incredibly hard. Like some of us work overtime, some of us work in the weekend, some of us work multiple jobs, me included, though I'm not removing myself. Yet, one unexpected event, such as losing a job or becoming ill, or changes in the economy can immediately affect the entire household. I'll use myself
that's
as an
true.
example. I remember when I fell sick and I didn't go to work for a while. Oh my God, I felt it. Like I felt it. I think I had shared that story with Avage before. I felt it because I wasn't paid, and I wasn't paid, but I had bills to pay. I
Mm-hmm.
had to feed. I had to do a lot of things. So that opened my eyes to embracing change, you know, and that is why many immigrant families are beginning to rethink that security, what security really means. Because for me, that really pushed me to start looking for options. Like I started looking for options, I started looking for ways to make sure that I have income coming in aside from my 9 to 5. Because I just felt I needed something I would have on the side. That means that I can still be going to my work, but the days I don't feel like going to work, the days I feel ill, or the day something happened, maybe I don't know, God forbid, and they lay me off, I should be able to have something else,
Yes.
that is bringing in income for me. And I know that that is why right now we are here telling many immigrant families to begin to rethink what security really means, because we need to also relearn how to use technology.
Mm-hmm.
We
Yes.
need to relearn how to build digital skills. Like I tell people, learn one step at a time. I used to have a business partner. I remember the last time we had a go live, Mr. Gabriel. He doesn't know anything about technology, but he was willing to learn. So each time I was telling him, do this, do that, he was so. And then now, most times when I see his post, I would just inbox him and say, Hi, Sir Gabriel, you are not doing more than me. Or he would laugh. I am so proud of him because why? He's 60 something plus, right? But
Mm-hmm.
him being able to embrace, technology, being able to learn. And he was like, Oh, I have a kid who is young too, but I don't really want to tell him to start helping me. I want to learn it myself so that when I have people who are going to join the business, I know what to teach them you know,
Right.
that is something that we need to, encourage more immigrant parents, more immigrant families to actually rethink and embrace. Don't
Yeah.
feel like, oh, I don't know how to do it. Are you willing to learn? Because there are people who are willing to teach you. There are people who are
Mm-hmm.
willing to show you how to build these digital skills, how to understand financial literacy,
Mm-hmm.
how to communicate online, how to develop your personal branding, how to create more than one income stream. And that is where this our online digital business comes in. Because when I was looking for option, my dear, I wasn't looking for something that would stress me out because I know that my 9 to 5 already stresses me out. I can't be exhausted. I can't be taking overtime. I can't be doing extra shift and
Right.
doing multiple jobs and still look for a business that will still kill me.
Yes.
So I was looking for something that would give me time, something that I could do in the pocket of my times. And the good thing is that our business also had step-by-step training, and this step-by-step training also helps us to build technology. So it teaches you how to use technology, how to build your digital skills, how to understand your business, how to communicate online, how to even develop your personal branding online.
Mm-hmm.
And to top it all, the cherry in the cake, you are still going to learn. You're still going to have multiple streams of income online. So it
Mm-hmm.
means that while you are doing your 9 to 5, you are sure, like you're 100% sure that you have somewhere else income is coming in from. You know, and aside from we who are the older ones, aside from we learning, we also need to teach our children that success is no longer only about getting a degree.
Mm-hmm.
Success is not only about finding an employer, having to work under somebody and get paid every month. It is about learning continuously, solving problems, and being able to create value in a rapidly changing world. Because the truth is that technology is here to stay.
Mm-hmm.
It has come
Yes.
to stay. And in fact, it is even evolving. Because
Yes.
the part of technology I think I used to know before, in these few weeks has changed. So I need to keep upgrading. I need to keep catching up. I need to keep learning. Because whether we like it or not, we are moving past that stage where everything is manual. Every now we are going digital. Even the workspace. Look at us now. Like I'm here now in Japan. Joanne is in Australia. Avage is in the US. But we are running our online digital businesses. We are coming here every week to do our go lives. Most times we
Mm-hmm.
reach out to each other whenever we have questions, whenever we have things to say. Because the truth is that technology will continue to evolve, whether we like it or not. But the question is whether we will evolve with it.
Mm-hmm.
And the greatest risk today is not change. The greatest risk is believing that yesterday's strategy will still protect tomorrow's future. My sister, it will not. My brothers, it will not.
Mm-hmm.
Because
No.
We used to think, remember before when there was no technology, you have to find a job. Like I said before in question number
Mm-hmm.
two, you have to move to another city, another country just to earn good, right? But now you can do all of that in the comfort of your home. So now location is not a barrier. Language is not a barrier anymore. You can sit here
Mm-hmm.
and get a job somewhere. You can sit here and get income from somewhere. And then now for we knowing that like our business now, like I always say every time when we come for Go Lives, that our business is passive. So now you have to teach your kids that okay, you can go to school, okay, you can get a degree, but this is a business that you can also pass. I can pass it on to you, you can pass it on to your own kids too. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to learn how to leverage the online system. You have to learn
Yeah.
how to build online. So you can have the both. I didn't say don't go to school, get whatever degree you want, PhD, whatever, but learn to build on the side. Learn to be able to create income on your own so that you don't be solely dependent on an employer. So that if something happens tomorrow, you know that you already have something in your name that you've been building that you're going to so much hold in high esteem and push it forward and also pass it on to the next generation. So thank you
Yeah.
so much, Ava.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much for that blessing. As you spoke, the thought came to me that, maybe one of the biggest thing we need to unlearn is also the belief that the only path to success is exchanging more time for money. The truth
Mm,
is, hard work will always matter, but we also have to learn how to work strategically. When I was probably about 15, 16 in high school, it was shared to us, um, go to school, you get an education, and you find yourself a beautiful 9 to 5, and life would be perfect. No problems. No
mm,
problems. I'm sorry. I think more so for my generation, I can't speak for others. Entrepreneurship really wasn't something that was truly pushed. It
mm,
wasn't. The people who you find, embark on entrepreneurial journeys are persons who would have had family members who are already involved and they saw the benefit of it. But it wasn't something that was so much pushed in
mm,
school. And, unfortunately, my parents wasn't an entrepreneur themselves. So they were not even in a position to teach me that concept. The good thing though, and I have to give, kudos to the new generation, that has changed. And I believe that change, would have come about as a result of the evolution of technology and everything else that is happening. And so this generation is definitely at a better advantage than those of us who were taught go to school, find a 9 to 5, and life
mm.
would be good. And then you start work. And I always tell my friends, and I'm jumping into my patois. I hope you guys are understanding what I'm saying. But I always tell my friends that adulthood is a scam,
Of
because
course.
you are of the impression that when you get to adulthood, life gets so sweet, it couldn't be sweeter. And when you get, you're like, no, talk truth. Mm-mm, this is not working. But we have to survive nonetheless. We have to survive nonetheless. The truth is, tonight's conversation highlight some important points. The world that we are living in is changing,
Mm,
and we have an opportunity to change with it. As immigrants, we have already proven that we can adapt. We've crossed borders, we've learned new system, we've rebuilt our lives and created opportunities where there were once challenges. Now we have to ask ourselves, how do we position our families for the future?
mm,
Our purpose here is to help fellow immigrants, families explore new opportunities through digital entrepreneurship, creating additional income opportunities, building flexibilities, and providing a pathway towards building something that yes benefits us, but also can benefit our generation to come. Because success should not only be measured by what we achieve financially. It should be also measured by the time we can get back, the moments we don't miss, the legacies that we truly, truly create. Ladies, it is always a pleasure, to come here weekly and, just have these conversations. And I trust for those who are live, who have, and even if you're not live and you're watching the replay, that you will take a reflective stance. You will look at your current life, you look at what is happening around us, and really make a concerted effort to make a change. Because if you remain in the position that you are now, even a year from now, you're going to be at a disadvantage. Ladies, before we go, I'm going to throw it back to you both. Is there anything that you would like to share with our viewers before we go tonight?
Okay, Joanne, do you have go? We can't hear you. Volume. You're mute.
Sorry,
You're
guys,
mute.
I muted myself. First of all, I just want to thank everyone for joining us. And I know that this is a conversation that some of us would rather not have, because of the fear that is involved with change, with the fear of adapting, the fear of learning, the fear of venturing into something. But this is the very reason we show up, to have these conversations with you, to let you see a different opportunity. Because sometimes when you see other people that you can relate to and talk to people, that's why we show up with ourselves, with the way we are. I think that if you can resonate with what we are saying, don't ignore that feeling, don't ignore that nudge to make the change for yourself in your life. Reach out, and we are always happy to answer any questions you have. And I'm sure that this could be an opportunity that could change your life.
Totally
Thank you
agree.
so much. Okay, so for me, I just want to leave people with this. Work smart, not hard. Is before our parents, our grandparents, that was when they worked hard. And after working hard, we didn't see the fruit of their labor. So now, let's work smart. Let's leverage the online system. Let's use the tools. And just like Joanne said, this business will give you everything and everything you wish for. The only question is, are you willing to learn? Are you willing to stop giving excuses? Are you willing to show up when need be? Because remember, our jobs, most times we catch the train, we catch the bus, we ride our cars to work, right? But here online, you have to be online every day. You have to put out your content. You have to do things. Are you willing to take that risk? Are you willing to give in consistency and effort to build your business online? So as Joanne said, if you have questions, whatever it takes we want to know, please reach out to any of us, and we are willing and able to answer you. So have a great day.
Yes, thank you. Thank you again, ladies. Thanks to each and every person who took the time, to join in this evening. My encouragement to you is to continue to learn, continue to grow, continue to build. And if you haven't started building, start building. Now is the time. The time is now. Because when we rise, we create opportunities for others to rise with us. And that's our truth. That's our reality. Thank you again for being on the live with us this evening. It's always a pleasure. We look forward to seeing you next week again. We'll have some riveting conversations, some impactful conversations, we hope. So see you all next week. Thank you again, ladies. Bye-bye.
Bye from Japan.
Bye.